You guys are way too quiet. This is not what we're used to. So, bonzier, béni means God bless you. So you would say, amen. That's what that normally responds. I told them, if you said that right, the Haitian people would say amen. If you said it wrong, they'll look at you like you just looked at me. So if you don't get the right response, you know you didn't say it right. So first thing I said was bonjour. That's good morning. So good morning. Good morning. And then I asked, how are you? Some of you got it. Muy bien is yes. But for those of you who don't know and you just showed up here and you're confused as to what is going on, we just got back. I don't even remember what day it was anymore. We're so confused. I think it was Saturday morning at 2 a.m., something like that. And then some of us came to a leadership conference about 4 or 5 hours later because our pastor needs his schedule checked or something else checked. I'm not sure which. Not sure I can say that from here. But this has been an amazing week. For most of you, the first thing I want to do is say thank you. For those of you who are sitting in these first 2 or 3 rows, you allowed me to take your children to another country. And I understand, so thank you. I understand that is a very stressful and anxious thing, but I hope that it was worth it. That's the goal. For the rest of you who aren't sitting in these first 3 or 4 rows, I want to say thank you because a lot of you funded our trip down there, and I just want to let you know it was worth it, and I'm going to hold them to it that they're going to make sure that it's worth it. So thank you. It was funny. I joked. I think it came across more literal than a joke, but I joked this morning at worship team practice. I wanted to start a song where the vocalist started singing and then the musicians had to figure it out. We didn't really plan on that happening, but that's kind of what happened on this last song. It was not in the key that we rehearsed it in this morning. But about a verse and a half a chorus in, we were like, oh, I know this song. And then we took off. That is exactly what is happening, well, technically an hour ago in Haiti. It's very interesting. The worship leader or whoever is singing is the leader. And they will just start singing a cappella, and everyone has to figure out what they're doing and how to come in. They are way better at it than us, I will say. Maybe it's because they practice that every week, but normally within about a measure and a half, most of the musicians have figured it out, and we were the ones that was to play music, we were kind of watching them, and they would, as soon as one of them figured out what key it was in, they would communicate with the other person and tell them, and then they would go. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. That was an unintentional Haitian experience this morning for you all. But we appreciate that. Maybe God threw a little humor our way this morning. So as you can see, there are some people up here that are normally not up here as the ones who with the mic. Some of them are a little bit nervous. So what we're going to do this morning, every time we come back with a trip, we give them an opportunity to share what God has shown them and what God has done to them and through them. And so this morning is going to be no different. I had the opportunity, this is the third team of youth that I've had the opportunity to take in. And also Audra. So me and Audra probably won't talk a whole lot, but we want them to have an opportunity to share. I want to thank our chaperones, as they would be called. Me and Audra, we're obviously 2 of them, but also Sam Long, she's sitting here on the end. Or as the team, affectionately deemed her Mama Sam, because Mama Sam took care of everybody. And also my partner in crime for most things, Taylor Fine. And yes, he's doing fine. A lot of the Haitians, when they figured out his last name was Fine, they started making jokes with him. So they're like, "Oh, you fine? You fine?" Yes, I'm fine. But we had a good team this time. We had a group of 10 students go down and 5 sponsors, one including my father was there. We think we've kicked him off our youth teams now, though. I think that was his last youth team, unless the opportunity just shows, unless it shows up. So I think me and Audra have been given the green light that we're on our own now next time we go to Haiti. So, but it's okay because I'm half Haitian now, so we're good. So first off, I want to ask someone to start us. I want to ask someone who's been to Haiti to just lead us in prayer, and then we'll go. So any volunteer, one of you guys who's been there before. I see a hand back there. I think it's Kathy. Yep, Kathy. Let's pray. Amen. So we have a phrase that I don't know what that was, but it sounded valuable. We have a phrase that we use in Haiti whenever we're making a trip, and it is, we make our plans and then Haiti happens. So we don't really have much of a plan for this morning, other than I wanted to ask them a few questions and allow them to share. And I didn't tell them how exactly we're going to do this. I just told them to be ready. So they've kind of been prepping. We're going to show some pictures just for Audra in the back as she's going through photos. I'm going to start with Cameron. That's about as much warning as he's going to get. So she's going to try to show some pictures up there of us. This is our team. No, this isn't all the team. There's a few missing. Is that all the students? Is that everybody? No, Tiffany's not in there. So yeah, we got a few photos without. So, but Tiffany's not in that one, but there it is. So, for those of you who are wondering, the non-blancs in this picture, on your bottom right with the USA Olympic shirt, that's Junior. He's wearing a crown. So those of you who've been before, you know him. Directly, there he is. That's him and some good-looking white guy. So directly behind him, kind of hidden by the crown, is Winsey. And behind him is Mackenzie. Those are the two boys that my mom and dad are now calling their sons. And they sponsor them, and they're working with them on teaching them some English and things like that. Over here next to me, to my right on the left side of the screen, that's Jacqueline. So whenever you hear us say that Jacqueline is the one, especially for you parents, for those of you who hear us say Jacqueline will take care of us, that's the guy. And he does. He does take very good care for us. He's so concerned with how we're doing all the time. It's amazing, and he does a really good job. He works for New Hope Missions. He is on the field missionary, basically, in his own country. And his job is to take care of the schools, the pastors, and also the teams that come in. So he's busy a lot, and we wear him out. But he does an exceptional job, and he really enjoys the youth teams. I think he likes the youth teams more than the other ones because he gets a chance to play soccer with them and stuff. And some of them may tell a story about that or two. And he's a little bit competitive. So all right. So Cameron, every night when we got together, we asked. Hi, Cameron. So, some of them we haven't seen some of these photos either, so it's going to be a bit of a shock to us too. So as we got together every night, Cameron, what was the question that you were asked? And I think Cameron is on Audra's mic, I believe. Check that.
Hello.
And I think this one's Gavin's, so for those of you in the back. But Cameron, what was the question that we asked every night?
What has God showed you today?
What has God showed you today? Because every day in Haiti, it's a little bit different sometimes. You know, sometimes we see God may show you, every one of us something completely different. And then some days it may be the same. So what I want to ask you, Cameron, is how has God changed you through this trip?
Let's see. Where do I start? Okay, so when you're in Haiti, when we have these meetings every night and we ask everybody, what has God showed you today? In Haiti, I think just the change in surroundings, especially, you feel a lot different than when you're in the States. And I think just that difference from the norm makes you more sensitive to what's going on every day. And you're looking all day for what you think God is trying to show you. And sometimes it's not until 5 minutes before the meeting that you realize that it's really clear and it's been sitting in front of you all day and you haven't seen it yet. But a big thing for me was I don't think it has to take going down to Haiti for us to see what God is trying to show us every day. And I think that's something I need to be more sensitive to and pay better attention back here at home, because I think he truly is trying to show us something every day, and it's just whether we're paying attention or not that is really the difference.
I remember you saying in one of the meetings that you were hoping that you were able to stay focused on that. When you come back to the States, you wanted to continue to look for God to change, what he's showing you. So how's that gone so far?
Pretty well so far. By the time we got home, a lot of how my days were going were, trying to stay awake. I was really tired at the leadership conference and stuff. But as annoyed as Audra was about the leadership conference being the day after we get back from Haiti, I think it was a good thing, because that sense of paying attention to what God has to show you was still there at the leadership conference. So got a lot out of that. That was good.
Good. Well, we're going to hold you accountable to that, by the way. You said it in a group.
Thank you.
Go back one picture. Who is this guy?
That is Rudson, Aunt Dana, and Katie's sponsor child. I think Lissa has a story about that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I'll let her talk about that. But I got to meet him. His hair looks a little crazy, but really it's just because he has a really sick man bun in the back. Yeah, he's an awesome little dude.
Yeah,
he doesn't talk very much, but he's, that underbite smile.
Yeah. He's 4 years old, so
yeah, fair enough.
4 years old with a man bun. He's good to go. All right. Anything else, Cameron? Anything else you want to leave him with?
No, I'm good.
You're good to go.
I'm good.
All right. Diamond, you are next in line. So, how's God changed you? What's he taught you?
I think it was definitely being taught about how compassionate these people are. And we don't think about it the way these kids do. These kids are happy just to be around you, much less than we take for granted our families and the kids that are around us. But, they haven't grown up without a lot of the things that these people have. And
Who's that?
her name's Michelle, and I kind of fell in love with her. I'm trying, okay? This is a little girl from Boss Aviation, but as we were sitting there going around painting nails in all these classrooms, she just sat there and she smiled at me. And she wasn't really talking much because we couldn't speak each other's language. So all I knew was how to ask her name, and she was so quiet I couldn't understand her. But the fact that after I left that room, she kind of just walked around with me. And I went and asked somebody if she was sponsored, and she wasn't. But I think I'm ready. I didn't think I was ready to take on that responsibility of a sponsored child. And I definitely decided that little girl is getting sponsored.
Amen. How old are you?
16.
16 years old. You ready for that responsibility?
After I seen how all these kids are and what they go without, I don't see how I couldn't.
Good answer. I guess we're done talking to you. You look like you were a little...
I'm going to cry.
All right. Kobe, this is... you've had a little bit of a unique... there's another picture. That's what Diamond did this week. One of the things that she did. We did a day camp. For those of you who aren't aware, we did basically like vacation Bible school every day at a different school. So some of the girls, and this table, you can see they got the paints out. They're at Lemonade right now, and they were face painting. They were basically, it was, fun, having a good time with them. They were face painting. There was another group that was painting nails. And then the boys, we all played some games with them and just did some fun stuff before we taught a Bible. We did a little Bible lesson drama. I think in some of Cameron's photos you saw there was some of the drama going on. So that was kind of our day. And then after we would do that, we would hand out our Christmas boxes and do that. So that's kind of what we did. So you'll see these pictures. That kind of gives you an idea of what they were doing. Whenever in situations like this, Diamond has a few minutes with each child. And, you don't really have anything else to do. They can't go anywhere. You kind of have a captive audience. So they get to spend a few minutes with each child at a really close, proximity, which, it's kind of neat because they're curious about us. We're curious about them. But
That's not the chaotic picture.
yeah, that's not the chaotic picture. Sometimes they get really excited about getting their face painted and their nails painted. And each one of, these kids would have 20 kids around them in a 4-foot circle. I mean, they literally would be on top of them because they were so excited to be there. This was a little bit more of an organized picture. But Kobe, how did God change you this week?
How he changed
And
me?
you've had you've kind of have a little unique story because me and your mom have been there and come back and you've heard stories. What was that like, kind of being able to put real life with what you've heard?
Yeah, it was like with the people that you guys always talk about, how I got to meet them, and we got to meet our our sponsor child, and then the one that the youth group sponsors, and him, yeah, Junior, and how I think God showed me how nice the people down there are, and how I need to be nicer and to like my sister and stuff.
I just want to verify that's recorded, right, Brandon? Yes. What was it? Can you say it one more time just to make? Where's Evelyn at right now? Okay, you heard that, right? Yeah, it's okay.
And like when you would give a little kid a piece of candy or a few pieces of candy or something, they would immediately look around and find their brother or sister and go give them some candy. And when we would give Wes Kinley, our sponsor child for the youth group, a piece of candy, he would go find Wes Kinley or Wes Kelly
Whichever
and
one.
Chile, his cousin, and just give him something. And that's our sponsor kid, and
His name's Christo.
yeah,
And his father.
yeah, and that's his dad.
His
And
dad's name's Mr. Christo.
yeah, we bought him a bike, and his dad was really thankful that we did that for him. But yeah, and
So what you noticed behavior in there, and that stood out. I mean, obviously, because it's not always that way. I think there's more than one of you on this team that might have come back with a little different perspective on siblings. There was a Cameron's like, nope. Cameron needs another trip to Haiti. But that was a reoccurring theme for some of you, and I know that you guys every night you would say that. It was so different the way that they treated their family, and several of you guys brought that up. What else did you notice, Kobe, about them as people, like stuff that was different?
yeah, that's in the light blue shirts. That's the kid we sponsor
Nope.
for Haiti, the youth group's sponsor.
That's Wes
Kelly
is on the left of the screen. Wes Kinley is the one that the youth group sponsors. He's on the right.
Yeah. And another thing that I noticed is they just wanted to be with you when, when we were at the schools, they just hold your hand and play the slap game with you. and they when we went up to the Citadel, on the way back down to the parking lot, that boy, he held my hand all the way down, and they want you to enjoy your stay at Haiti. They want when we were walking through Boss Aviation, looking around, I stepped in a puddle of mystery, and my shoe got all dirty, and yeah, yeah, my shoe was like black, but so all the little kids walking around with us, they kept like running up to me and pointing at my shoe, and they wanted to help clean that off, and they wanted to, like that little boy in the pink right there, he would not leave me alone about wanting to clean my shoe off, and it was just, they want us to enjoy Haiti, and they don't, yeah, that's all I have.
All right. So, Abby, this was you didn't have a lot of like stories from people before. This was kind of like you're going in a little bit blind, like didn't have like parents that have been or family members that have been to Haiti before. So you were kind of going in with eyes wide open. What was it? What stood out to you when you? What was it that really got your attention when you first got to Haiti?
What really got my attention was how working the people are there. Like, they'll do anything to help you as long as they, get something back. But when we were going up the Citadel, and they were like 2 trips a day up and down the Citadel just to talk to you and help you up and give you information on there. And they didn't expect very much when they got back down, but they expected something.
Yeah, they were there to earn money for their family.
Mm-hmm.
How old was the one who was your tour guide?
He was probably in his 20s, maybe.
In his 20s?
Yeah.
And some of them, I think, the one that went with me was, I think, 15 or 16, and we had went on the weekend, so he was trying to earn money to be able to go to school and pay for his schooling.
Yeah, Antonio, the tour guide that I had, he actually lived on the mountain, so when we were walking back down and we were close to the parking lot, he showed me his house and told me about his family on the way down.
Yeah, and we had opportunities. We didn't go in a house, I don't think, on this trip, but you guys had a lot of opportunities to see where they live and how they live. Talk about that a little bit. You got to see his house. What was it like?
It wasn't sturdy. He had a curtain as a door, and it was falling apart, and he had a tin roof that had holes in it, and I don't know, I felt bad.
Yeah, a little different from comforts of home, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What so how do you feel God has changed you through this trip?
The biggest thing is how the siblings care about each other.
Yeah.
Because me and my sister, we're close to 10 years apart, and the biggest thing with us is, we talk and we get along, but when it comes to big things, we argue, and we don't really talk to each other as often as we used to. And with Wendy and Mackenzie, they pretty much shared everything, and they stuck close to each other. And
it's difficult. Did you meet any kids?
there was one little boy at Boss Aviation, and after I had finished painting nails, he kind of came up and held my hand for a little bit, and he made up a handshake for me and him.
Yeah. They're very playful. They just want to play. You said that was at Boss?
Mm-hmm.
Was that during lunchtime?
Yes, I think.
Do any of you guys, I don't know who's going to tell this story, but about what happened at Boss? Somebody's going to? Okay. Well, do you remember it, Abby?
Not really.
All right, we'll get
It
to
was
that.
kinda like-
We'll get to that here in a
Yeah.
minute. Nick can tell the story. Like I said, we didn't plan this out. So, so Abby, what? I guess we'll close with this. What do you want to remember? What is going on here?
Chaos. Chaos.
Yeah, chaos. What do you always remember? What do you want to remember from Haiti?
I guess I want to remember how close they are to each other and how friendly they are with each other, even if they don't know each other, and how they didn't know us. We were complete strangers to them, and they just welcomed us like we were family, practically. And there wasn't really anybody that, like, hated us. There were maybe a few. But they just wanted us there.
Yep.
And they were happy that we were there.
They're a very warm culture. I mean, they really value people. I mean, obviously more than things, because they don't have that many things. And we kind of talked a little bit one night about, sometimes our things are our distraction, and not by their choice, but they don't have all those distractions. And sometimes that might be a good thing for us. Sometimes. So, thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany was quiet this whole trip. She didn't talk a lot. She wrote in her journal all the time, and I was hoping she had her journal because I wanted to read it, but I don't care. I don't care about privacy. What did God show you on this trip? How did he change you?
Probably showing me that I need to be more generous for what I have. Like, they share everything they have down there. The boxes they share with their siblings. And I just think that we don't really share anything. If we get something, we always keep it for ourselves. And I feel like I need to be more giving and share anything I have, even time.
How about the was it you with the sucker?
No, that was Jenna.
Yeah. Were you going to talk about that? No. We got to see several opportunities where that generosity just comes out of them naturally, and it is really difficult. Like with the feeding, did you ever go watch the feeding and how the New Hope does the feeding programs and stuff?
I watched them come out of the little building with their bowls.
It's amazing. There's times where one of the older siblings will get their meal for the school-provided meal, and they may eat 2 or 3 bites of it, and then they'll go find a younger sibling and give them the rest. And okay, go for it. Can you explain how
It's beans and rice in a bowl, and sometimes they have to share their spoons with each other because there's not enough.
they take these big bowls, kind of like what we have our water in, and they'll take these big bowls full of beans and rice, and then they'll have a stack of stainless bowls, and they'll hand the bowls out throughout the class, and then they'll come around and dip beans and rice off into the little bowls, and it's like Tiffany said, they don't have spoons for everybody, so a lot of times one kid will eat and then hand the spoon over, and then the next kid can eat, and they hand the spoon over, and as many times as they have to. I've noticed, and I think one of the times, last time when we were down there, me and Brandon, and we were videoing the feeding program that they do, and every school but Boss, I think, gets 1 meal a day if they're a student. So we provide lunch for every student. Now, in Boss Aviation, it's a little different. Financially, there's some issues there where I think the feeding program runs 3 to 4 times a week. So there's 1 or 2 days where they don't get a school provided meal. The money, the rest of the $30 that's broken up still goes everywhere, but there's just, because of the number of kids at Boss, there's not enough money to provide yet until we get more children sponsored. There's not enough money for all the kids to have a meal every day in the school. And I think I'm going to make Nick talk about that maybe. But it's one of the most crazy things is to see someone who doesn't have food themselves, and you give them food, and then they give it away. And it just, I don't know, maybe it's hard to explain until you see it. Because I think any of us would, we could give up a meal and it wouldn't be that big a deal. We could say, okay, this afternoon I'm not going to eat lunch. But that's knowing that we can eat dinner. And it's just, when you see it, it just, it puts a tangible thing that you can touch, you can feel, you can smell. And these kids, they had an opportunity. There was one of the days where we kind of pulled back and we ate our snacks, and then I told them, eat as quickly as you can, and then I want you to go watch. I want you to go see what they do during the feeding program. See the little girl in the pink, she doesn't have a spoon, so she's using her hands. And then the boy did. There's another little girl, and I think this was the one that me and Brandon were filming, and it kind of got to me. And I don't know if I'm holding the camera there or Brandon was, but I kind of pulled back from the camera, and I looked at Brandon, and I said, man, I don't know if I can do this. And he looked at me, and he said, you better. He said, because we have to tell this story. So we were filming that, and it's just different when you're there to see what's happening. And I think all of these guys got a chance to see that. Every night when we would go through, it seemed like there was 1 or 2 kids that would tell a story about how you try to give these kids something, and they give it away. And they were just so generous and so compassionate. So do you have a story or something you want to share with us about a person or somebody you met down there?
Yeah, I have 2 short ones.
Okay.
The first one's at Lemonade when we were painting faces. Mm-hmm. And there was this little girl that came up. She was kind of like at the one, just a few came up. And I painted her face, and after I did, they had, for their water, little plastic bags, and they'd just rip it open and drink out of it. And after I painted her face, she tried to give it to me. And I told her no, but then she stayed there and like hung on to me, and then all the boys came up and were like pushing, but she tried to stay with me as long as she could until they pushed her away. But I just, that's all they get, and they want to share it. And then my other one is when I got a sponsor kid. Because, I didn't know my mom was going to let me pick one out. So I didn't know. And then the last school we went to in Milo, and I got my girl. And it's just that I get to help someone.
It's a pretty special thing that we get to go down and meet these kids that are on the other end of the check. And it's hard. It's hard to keep it together, one, obviously. But it's really difficult when you go down there and you meet that child and you get to put your hands on them and hug them and give them a gift or give them something. Share your snacks with them. And a lot of these kids got the opportunity to go down, and I don't even know how many of them planned on sponsoring a kid. But I was really impressed when they went down there, and all of them started asking me, can I sponsor this kid? Can I sponsor this kid? And I'm like, you're 16 years old, or you're 15 years old. Like, that's a big commitment for you to sponsor a kid who's you're going to be sponsoring for the next, till they get through 9th grade. So, it isn't just, I'll send a check down or I'll write a check once. It's this, and they've all had the opportunity to see it now. This money helps this family, not just that child. And I was very impressed that when we got there, all of them, there was several of them that came up and, hey, can I sponsor this kid? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't have anything to do with that. So we would go and I would find my dad and he would call my mom and she would go down the list. What's the name? And then, okay, that kid's, you can sponsor him. They don't have a sponsor. And then they would go back and, try to stuff the kid in their backpack and bring him home with them, I think. But that's what most of them were wanting to do. Can I take him home with me? I'm like, no, we cannot get them through customs. It doesn't work like that. So, but
They never say anything about a child.
yeah, on that list, it says coffee, pets, and doesn't say about a Haitian kid. It's not on the list, so it doesn't say you can't. But it was very neat as, kind of a sponsor to get back and watch, to just kind of sit back and watch them. And I really, it was very obvious to me that God was changing their hearts right in front of me. And there were several of them. And for those of you who are still here, you're not off the hook on Wisconsin, FYI. We're still sponsoring Wisconsin. As a group, it's actually been several youth groups ago now, at least 2. They decided they wanted to sponsor Wisconsin as a youth group. And so that gets passed on from youth group to youth group. So, and me and Audra don't do anything with that. We don't collect the money. All we do is right now it was Nick, before it was Haley George, but when Nick every Sunday at youth group, he's like, hey, you haven't paid me your $5 yet. And, Nick had been before, so Nick knew who he was. So he was the guy that we chose. And, eventually Nick's going to have to hand that off to somebody else who can be the mean guy to say, hey, I don't have your money yet. Come on, what are we waiting on? And but they collect the money, they get it rounded up, and then Nick gives some of them, $30 to Audra, and then Audra mails it off. And that's how they do it. But they do that. Me and Audra have never put any money into that. And so for them to do that, and then also go on this trip and say, no, I want to sponsor a child on my own too. So now they're responsible for 2. It's amazing to get to see them and see how they've been changed. And some of them may have to carpool or come up with some way to save a little money from time to time to be able to send that check in, but maybe do without something and sacrifice for a little bit. But they were all really excited. Anything else, Tiffany? Are you good? You don't want to cry no more?
No.
Okay. Nick. So Nick's been before. Nick was the only one on the team that had been into Haiti before. Unless some miracle happens with the youth group, this will be his last trip with the youth group. But he was the only one that we had down there that had any experience, that knew who the people were and had an issue. You getting that ready?
Just in case.
Just in case. But I want, before I ask you the other question, when we were at Boss Aviation, Boss was one of the schools, like I mentioned earlier, that they don't have enough money in their system. And it's because they're growing so fast. The population for our church and through the school at Boss is quite a bit. I think they had, was it 400 students at Boss? Is that right? 350 or 400? I think there was 312 there that day. Maybe it was 350 that they had total, but there was 312 students that day at Boss. And after the first day, we figured out our schedule was when I would show up, I would go find the superintendent or whoever was in charge, and I would ask, when is lunch? Because the first day we screwed that up, and we started playing games when they were supposed to be eating, and then we had to move all their schedule around. So we would ask, when is lunch? So when I went and asked, when is lunch, I think they told me between 9:30 and 10:30 or 10 and 11. I'm not really sure. And so we made our schedule around that. We would play the games before, let them go to lunch, and then we would do the story and the drama, and then hand out Christmas boxes. And so when we got there, it was time for lunch. So we let them all go. We told the translators and superintendent, okay, let them go get their lunch, and then we'll eat our snacks, and then we'll go on with the plan. So shortly into that time period, we noticed something strange was happening.
Telling my story.
And we weren't really, I'll let you get to, I don't want you to cry.
I'm going to.
Shortly into that time, we noticed something was different. So what was going on there?
All right, before I get to there, Audra, can you go back to the other picture? The one with the green shirted kid? Maybe, please. Anyway, all right, you guys saw the green little boy picture,
There we go.
Outside with all the T-shirts. Remember that little kid that I was holding? That kind of famous picture of me that everyone's seen? And
Famous in your mind?
yeah, well, in my mind, of course, yeah. But that little kid is actually the same kid that I held in the last trip, just 2 years older now. So I thought that was kind of cool. I was walking around and I saw him immediately.
Yeah.
I showed the old picture to his mom, like, can I take another one? So that's what that is. Okay, anyway, back to the story. So I was in charge of the games, like Travis said, and it's crazy. The games is crazy. We usually broke into 2 different groups, the older and the younger kids, and our translator would usually go with the older kids and translate, and if we needed help, we would go and get him and bring him to the little kids. So it was crazy. I wanted a little break, kind of selfishly, but I wanted a little break, and I went up to Travis. I'm like, I thought you said it was lunchtime. Like, why are they still here? And he told me this story. Well, not this story, but he told me what was happening, and that was that this was one of the days that they didn't get to eat. If they wanted
school
to,
lunch.
yeah, the school lunch. If they wanted to eat, they had to bring it themselves. And because we did games in the church, the whole church was still full of kids that were playing with us. I'm like, well, so all these kids that are playing with us, they were the ones that didn't bring their lunch for that day. And I'm going to go, so school lunches, like all you people who have ever had school lunches, like we complain about it all the time. These kids didn't get a school lunch that day, and they were fine with it because we were there and they got to play with us. I bet even if we weren't there, they would still be fine with it. They would still find a good use of their time while everyone else was eating because they're just like that. They don't complain. They don't get upset. They aren't picky. They do what they do, and they're okay with it.
Yeah. It was one of those moments where it just kind of hits you pretty hard when I asked through our translator, I said, why aren't these kids, why didn't they go eat? And he said, well, today's not a school lunch day, so they would have had to bring their lunch. And as soon as he said that, I realized these kids don't have a lunch. And then I passed the information on, and I told him, I said, you look at these kids. So do they look like they're sad or upset or pouting or disappointed? And they didn't. They were just happy to play with us. And we did some jump roping and did some, they have a hand slap game, which some of them, they can teach you later if you want to know. But they, yeah, they just played games with them for that whole time. While the rest of the kids were eating, they just played games. And it was pretty neat. It was unfortunate, and I'm hoping that we get enough child sponsorship in that area, and we can figure out how to make it work to where we have enough money for food every day. That's the goal, because your money doesn't just give your kid a school lunch. That money goes into a fund to feed all the kids in the school, and they just don't have enough to do all the days. So, Nick, how did God change you on this trip?
Well, there was a bunch of experiences where I felt like God was changing me, but I'm going to kind of change his question and go along the route of how I've been before. So this is my second trip. So I'm going to more answer the question on how I saw God change my family, my friends. But before I do that, parents, these are some amazing kids, and we have to thank you for that, because without those role models that they can look up to, they can't get that great. So thank you all. going out through the whole week, I know this is a cliche thing for these things, but I kind of just stepped back and I watched them do their thing. And there was moments in all of these, my friends' lives, that I could see that something amazing was going on. Sunday, we went to church in Lemonade, and Diamond, she was sitting in front of me, and this little kid was staring at her. Whispered over to her dad. We didn't know what he said. Well, she said, because she was way up there. But later, she came back, ran into Diamond's arms, and just sat right next to her throughout the whole church service. Diamond lost it right then and there. It was a while. And then I have a bunch of stories. So I can't say them all.
You can't tell them all.
Rachel, we went to a restaurant called Lakai, and Audra had a bunch of our leftovers, and she was walking out. She was going to go give them to some street kids. Rachel ran up to Audra. And she was most excited I've ever seen Rachel. She was like, Audra, can I please hand out one of these boxes to one of these kids? And the fact that she was so excited to do that, oh my goodness, it was great. I'm not going to go very far into this one because Lydia might talk about it, but Lydia got some news whenever she was talking to her child, and just how upset she was about this news, how she came over to us and she was crying, talking to us about it. She's never met this child before. She just started sponsoring this child at the beginning of the year, but she already has that connection to where she felt so upset about all of this. That was amazing to watch. And then Jenna, she got to meet her boy. She walked up to us and she was screaming. She's like, "That's him, he's right there." And then there's Lissa. She's going to talk about this later. But there's this little boy that Lissa fell in love with, and she'll talk about that. I won't get in there. But that was amazing to watch. And then Sam, me and Sam, we joked around a lot about how we like to eat. She's skinny, so you can't tell. But we joked around about about how we like to eat a lot. And she always joked, like, because she didn't go up the Citadel, and she was like, "It's because I'm too fat. I can't." But we were there, and we invited all of our translators to come eat with us every day. And a couple times, Jacqueline brought our sponsor kids, and they were just sitting down. And Sam, she didn't, like, sometimes I catch myself giving, but giving to where I can tell that other people are seeing me give, so that I can feel that satisfaction. And I know that's awful, but I do catch myself doing it. But Sam, she didn't do that. She walked up, and I was obviously eavesdropping, but she walked up to Ralph, and she said, "If it means that these two kids can eat, I will skip dinner tonight just so that these kids can eat." And, I mean, we joked around about how we like to eat and all that, but just her willingness to do that and to give up something for someone else, these are some amazing people that I'm lucky to call some of my best friends. And I mean, I saw myself grow a lot this trip, along with the other trip. But what was really great for me is watching all of these people grow. So thanks.
All right, you good? Are you okay? You want to skip?
I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Throw it at me.
So, I'm gonna let you just tell your story. How about that?
About what?
Whatever.
Like, about...
Did you have anything specific?
There was so much. Like,
Okay. So how do you feel like God changed you this week?
He definitely, like, showed me... I watched other people in Haiti, like, how their culture worked. And what? Outdoor voice.
Outside voice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, I don't know. There was a lot, because, I don't know, the kids definitely, like, they were just, this one kid was walking next to me when we were walking in the town, Boss Aviation, and I was worried about stepping in the puddles, and this kid walked through the puddle next to me just to hold my hand. And there wasn't room on the dry part that he could walk next to me, so he walked through like ankle deep mystery puddle. Yeah. And and when we were, whenever you told us to look at the way that they ate lunch, I was walking around and was looking in the classrooms, and there was people in front of me, and this little girl reached her hand out, and I stuck my hand out. She took my hand, and she kissed my hand. And yep.
Yep.
And whenever we met Junior's family, he has a beautiful family, his little girl, Stacy, which is 5, she was sitting there, and we were all talking to Junior and his wife and his 1-year-old Aaliyah. And I went over to Stacy. I started teaching her the hand games, where you clap and you high five and stuff. And we were sitting there, and then all of a sudden we were talking, and Junior asked, "Who's your favorite?" And she pointed at me, and I cried. And I don't know, just the kids and how they are so loving and stuff. So.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. The anxiety, yeah. Because you were nervous going into this because you kind of get a little bit wigged out sometimes, right?
I stress myself out, let me tell you.
But, so what happened?
So I was nervous at first. Like, there was a lot going on, people screaming in weird languages, and it was, but I feel like it helped me, actually, because I can tell here now I'm not as worried. Like, it helped me a lot. And the only time, I'm going to tell a story. So okay. The only time I actually got real stressed out, I had to walk away, was whenever we were at Milo, and we got the balloons out. And instantly, like 60 kids were right in front of me. They were crawling all up me, and yeah, he had a guy on his neck. And this kid, they were all reaching their hands out, and I didn't know what to do. I only had 1 package of balloons. There was not enough. And this kid stuck his hand down the back of my pants. And I walked away. I was like, no balloons down there, no thank you. And so I had to, that was the only time it got really, that was new. I value my personal space, and
all right, Taylor wants the mic. No. It is a very big, like, that's one of the first things that you notice when you go down there is the personal contact. Like, we all have our own little, like, you don't realize it, but if I put all of you out in that hallway out there, we would all have like this little cushion of personal space that we would have. That's just our culture. That's the way we naturally are. Not in Haiti. Like, you do not have any personal space. We literally counted, like, if you know what like a 1/4-ton pickup truck is, this is daily life for them. Like a Ford Ranger, an S10, some of the little Toyota pickups, things like that. They put 2 benches down each side of the bed rails, and they use that as, it's like a taxi cab service. You wait, you hail the cab, and there's a guy in the back, sometimes with a stick, sometimes with a machete, depends on what he's got to tap on the side of the camper shell with. And there's no tailgate, there's a little step bumper, and you climb up in there and you tell him, hey, I'm going wherever, and then when you're ready to get off, he taps on the side, the driver stops, and you get out, you pay the guy, and you get out. And they call them tap taps. You know, you tap on the truck, and that's what makes them stop or makes them go. We counted on the way back. We think there was at least 25. 25 in the back of the truck. In the back of the truck. Then the driver was in the front, and we didn't know how many were in the front because we couldn't see in there. Then they stopped, picked up 3 more in the back and 2 in the front. Like, they weren't quite full yet, apparently. So when we talk about personal space in Haiti, that's what they're used to. I mean, it would be I mean, it'd be nothing for one of these front rows to have 20 Haitians on it. That's just the way they are. They don't, normally if we sat down, we'll leave a space between us and then there's another person, and because we like our space. Now, that doesn't work in Haiti. And I think even in church on that Sunday morning, by the time it was all over with, there was one row where there was like 4 or 5 of us Americans. I think by the time church was over, there was like 12 people in that row. And half of that was their first experience with, oh my gosh, why are they sitting so close to me? And why are they doing this? But that's just the way it is. So Rachel's that's kind of common, the personal space thing. But Taylor, you had an interesting week this week.
You want me to go last and wrap it up?
What did you, nah.
No?
What did God show you this week?
I'll just talk.
Just keep.
Yeah. So, let's see. I guess it was day 2. Yeah. That was, yeah, we'll just go with that. So it was the first full day, I guess. We went to church. And after church, we decided to go to the Citadel. And we were waiting to go to Citadel, and one of Jacqueline's kids was in the street, and they were playing this hacky sack game. And I was like, I'm good at hacky sack. I'll play with them. So not knowing, we're sitting there playing the game, and there's a drainage ditch running down in the street. Yeah, where the guy in the white shirt is standing. There's running water going through that. And it's not water. It's not water. It's fluid. We'll just go with that. Well, the hacky sack landed in it, and me not knowing anything, I just picked it up and threw it back to the kid and wiped it on my pants. And somehow, I didn't sanitize my hands afterwards and got very, very sick. I threw up for 9 straight hours. I threw up over 30 times, and it was a very long night for everyone in my room. I apologize to everyone, but like Travis said in the beginning, we make our plans, and then Haiti happens. So, which on my first trip, you all know that like I learned that was like, don't stress the small things, and to me, this was a small thing, okay? But the next morning, I finally fell asleep at 4 o'clock. I stopped throwing up, and next thing I know, I remember hearing Ralph say, "Everyone be quiet. He finally fell asleep. Do not wake him up." And I was like, thank goodness. So next thing I know, I hear knocking on the door. Ralph comes in. He's got 2 ladies that are staying at the compound with him, and they happen to be nurses. And they're like, "Hey, we're just going to check your sugar levels since I'm hypoglycemic." They're like, "We don't want you to pass out," and all that fun jazz. And I was like, okay. So then they're like, "Do you want an IV to get some fluids back in you?" And I was like, yes. That sounds like a grand idea. And there's a picture of it somewhere. And I sent a picture of my mom of the IV in my arm. I said, "Don't freak out." It's not that big of a deal. I was sick. I'm getting better. So I spent the whole day. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to the first school at Lemonade, which it was a bummer because, I've been waiting for this trip. I only get to go every other year, which as a chaperone, I get to go more often. But still, I give up anything and everything for this country. And but after that happened, the week continued. The week went on. And then he happened. We don't know his name. I don't remember his name.
Ansley. Ansley is his name. A-N-S-L-Y.
And I remember we were walking in. They were getting ready to do their skit. And he walked in and someone was carrying him. And I was like, holy cow, there's a dwarf in Haiti? Like, he's a midget. I don't know if I can say that or not,
Little
but he's
person.
a dwarf. We'll stick with dwarf. And I was like, if that kid is not sponsored, I want him. I don't know why. I was just like, that kid's going to be mine. And Ralph was doing his thing and trying to figure out. We found out that we don't think he's sponsored and stuff. But we were talking later that night about why. Ralph asked me, he's like, "Why did you choose to sponsor this kid?" And I said, well, on the first trip down, it was kind of a group decision, which I had a lot of influence in it for the youth group to sponsor a kid, because at that time there was about 6 or 7 of us in the youth group, and I was like, we can do this. It's like $5 a month, that's nothing for us. And so then that was my first trip in, which also my last trip in with the youth group. And so I said, okay, I didn't have a sponsored kid after that.
I met my parents' sponsored kid the second trip down, and I thought we were going to pick up sponsoring their younger daughter, or I was, and then we got back and come to find out she's already being sponsored. And so I went into this trip with, I wasn't necessarily looking for a kid, but I was just going to let God do his thing, and he did. And so Audrey was telling me, back to what Ralph was saying, he's like, why did you sponsor the kid, and I told him all of that. And then he made a point, and which is really, I've really been thinking about it ever since he told it to me, and ever since I got back and everything, that since the kid is different, since he's not going to grow very big, and me and Audra were talking to the mom after one of the classes that day, and she had said that they had taken him to the doctor, and the doctor had told her that he could give the kid injections to make him grow. And so that's the doctor lying to her, and that really hit hard for me, because I'm like, that doctor's just taking advantage of her. And, this kid, this might be his only year to be in school, so then he might not be able to eat. And I don't know what that family's going to do to the kid, because he's not going to grow. And Ralph was like, since you are like taking this kid in, you're giving him a chance, because he might not get enrolled into school next year. And now that you're sponsoring him, he has to be enrolled. Otherwise, the family doesn't get the money to help out. So to me, that's a big deal, because I would give like anything and everything for this country. And I'm just glad that he's my little guy, literally. So I'm going to pass the mic now.
And then when Audrey went to take his photo, he threw up the peace sign as she took the picture, and Audra's like, you're definitely Taylor's kid. So yeah, it was pretty neat. All right, Lydia. So I want you to tell a story about, was it Naika? Naika. I want you to tell a story about Naika. Boss Aviation, you got to sponsor her starting January 1, because you told that story one night how 2016 was kind of stressful and a little bit rough for you, and you were excited because 2017 started out. The very first day of 2017, she found out she got to sponsor this little girl, and she already knew she was coming into the country, so she was excited, driving me crazy, because she's like, when do I get to meet my kid? I'm like, we have to wait till we go to the school. And so she was super excited. And her and Jenna both found out that news the same day. They were both going to get to sponsor a kid, and they were both at Boss Aviation. So they were teaming up on me, trying to figure out when can we go. And when we got to the school, they both went on a hunt. Like they both were going to go find their sponsor kid, and they were going to go hunt them down. And the girl that Lydia is holding, that is Naika. Is that yours?
She had a Michael Jordan backpack.
Okay.
Just want to say that's awesome.
So they literally, as soon as we got there, stopped paying attention to what we were supposed to be doing and went and found their sponsor kids. So Lydia, tell me a little bit about your experience meeting her.
Like he said, when we got to the school, me and Jenna went on a hunt, and Jenna's kid was right in front of her the whole time. But we had Fifi, who was one of the other translators. Yeah. Oh, I had a picture of her, and I was searching out of the 200, 300 kids, and they brought her to me, and I turned around, and I started bawling because she had the same eyebrows as in the picture. I know that's really weird, but Jenna's like, her eyebrows. But I just fell in love with her. The first time I saw a picture of her, I started crying because I didn't know who she was, but I got to help her. And when I got to see her for the first time, I noticed that when she was nervous, she did this thing with her hands, and she was so quiet. And it's just like the opposite of me. So I thought that was a little funny.
I didn't mean to laugh out loud.
But I got to know some stuff about her, and a lot of the information on the packet was wrong. she didn't even know her age. She thought she was 3, but the packet says she's 4. And when we got finished with the lesson, everybody was waiting, and the kids had their boxes, and I was just sitting with her, and we opened the box, and she fell in love with this doll that she had in her box. And then her cousins started coming around her. I thought it was a little weird, but I guess it wasn't, because her sister already left, because she's in 2nd grade. And then I was like the last one with a sponsored child, and all the kids had left the school pretty much. And Ralph came over, and he's trying to get the translators to figure out where her mom was and why she wasn't here yet. And this lady came in the doorway, and there was a lot of translation in this, but it was her aunt. And I was wondering why her mom wasn't there. And it was because they said her mom was at the market. But that's what they'd been telling the kids, that she was at the market. And really, she was hours away in Haiti, finding a place to bury Naika's dad. And she had told me that, well, to the translator, she told me that her parents didn't live together. She had no idea that her dad was dead, and he died last week. And she has to grow up without have a relationship with her dad. And I have a dad. I have a family. But she was living with her aunt while her mom is finding a place to bury her dad. So she lives with her cousins. And me and Jenna decided to bring $150 for our kids. And that was a generous amount of money, and I really didn't think about having that much. And towards the end of the trip, I was getting money from everybody else. I had $2 in my pocket, and all of the tourist people were like, "Give me money." I'm like, "I really don't have any." But that lady has to pay for the burial, and Travis told me it's a lot of money to do that. So they have, it's $9,000 in our money, what I gave to her, but it's actually $150 for us. And that is so much.
Yeah. 9,000 goods is
I
about
thought it was
$150.
$9,000 in our money.
No.
Well,
$150 in our money is 9,000 goods. But one of the things that Lydia was able to experience was that God knew what was going to happen before she got down there. And God had already arranged that her and Jenna would have extra money, and they wanted to give to their sponsor child, but she didn't know why. And so for her to be able to give that money to that family, and for them to not have to carry that whole burden on their own, and the mom didn't even know. I mean, she wouldn't have found out until she got back from making the funeral arrangements. But it was a tremendous blessing that she was able to give to that family. And now, you said that she won't have, that she's losing a family and doesn't have, her whole family. She also gained a family in you. So
She didn't really understand what was happening.
she will. She will.
Yeah, I took a picture with her using Rachel's camera, and I put it in her backpack. So I was like, "Guys, will she remember me?" And they're like, "Yes, she will."
Yeah, the younger ones are a little shy when you first meet them. So whenever you meet it's no different than here. If you were to walk back in that nursery and, as a stranger try to bond with a 3 or a 4-year-old, they'd kind of pull back like, "What's going on?" But trust me, by the time they're older and they, see you again, it's different. But
Well, I just want to say that leaving was the hardest part. The morning, it was Friday morning, right? Well, everybody was so chipper, and I was like sad on the inside. And after breakfast and after we'd gotten ready, we got in the truck, and I just looked at everything, and I started bawling. And we were driving, I was like, "I'll miss the cacti, I'll miss the cows." And I just cried on the way there, and I cried at the airport. And they're like, we still have an hour, and then I'm still crying. And then after we said goodbye to Junior and Jacqueline and Winsey and Mackenzie, I was just like, I'm not going to get to see these guys for years or months, or I don't even know how long. And that verse on Facebook, Sam posted about us not knowing where the road is going, but God is only showing us one step ahead, only giving the light for one step. Because if you know the whole road, you're not really relying on God. So
Yep.
I'm really sad. I'm still sad. I really want to go back. I told everybody I'd rather die there. I really would. It's a third world country, but everybody is so loving and everything's simple there. And reality was brought to me. And coming back, everything was different. I could hear the refrigerator. I could hear the humming and everything. I was like, am I immortal? But I don't know. It was weird. Everything smelled weird. I smelled my clothes for a good 5 minutes. I'm like, goodbye, Haiti. But, yeah.
All right, Jenna. Oh, boy. So. So, what did God teach you through this week?
Definitely coming into the trip, and even at the very beginning where I found out I even got to go to Haiti, I never imagined being able to have the opportunity to sponsor a child. And so, just like Lydia, on January 1st, I don't attend this church for service and everything, so I saw where Lydia got her kid, and I'm like panicking, like, I want to know who I got and everything. So I drove to Ralph and Diana's house that same day and got the information, and it turned out I got a 5-year-old boy named Joseph Gene Woodson, and I bawled on the way home, just like, Mom, look at this kid, my baby, like, and I kind of had the same reaction whenever we were at Boss, and we were about to do the play first. And like Lydia said, Joseph literally sat right in front of me, and I'm standing by Nick, and I looked like the proud mom at a soccer game, like, that's my kid, that's him, he's amazing, like, and it was just amazing to me to see him, like, in the flesh. And I remember, like, after the play, the kids were playing games, and we weren't painting faces that day, so I had some time to actually go and play with all the kids. And I remember kind of doing that mom thing where you're at a friend's house or something, and you just kind of like look around just to see where your kid is, make sure they're fine. So I'm looking for Joseph, and he's really easy to find because he's the only kid with cornrows and a sea of bald eagles. So I saw him, and it was like I was taking in every single detail about him, just looking at him, because like first his hair, and then it's like, oh, his head's a little big for his body right now, and just watching the way he runs, and later getting to hold him and seeing the scars on his legs and how big and brown his eyes were and he had this look like the entire time where, I don't know, he looked like the picture for Sponsor Kids where Arms the Angels playing in the background and you're just crying looking at him, but I absolutely fell in love with him, and that's one of the things God showed me was how just a child that you can't even speak to them in their own language, but they can still steal your heart, and you find this new passion of loving them. And I'm sure all the sponsors out there that are either new or old or wanting to sponsor, it's an amazing deal you get to be a part of. And like I said, I never imagined ever sponsoring a child at 19 years old, but God gave me something this amazing, and I'm truly grateful for that. And I'm thankful to VCU for giving me these opportunities, and it means a lot to me.
Very good.
What?
Good job. Hi, Lydia. Alyssa.
Why do you keep calling me
I don't know.
my sister?
I don't know.
And her.
Oh, I know.
That's me.
So, listen.
Alyssa, okay,
All right. So what did?
I'm gonna look up there.
She doesn't want to look up there. She has some sadness. So what did God teach you?
I'm not looking at
What did God teach you this week through your opportunity?
Well, when we got to Boss, I saw Jenna with Joseph. Well, at first she called him John because she thought his name was John or Gene. And later she found out it was Joseph. And one of his friends came up to him. And this little boy, he's the cutest little Haitian boy I've ever seen. His name's Rudson. And I fell in love with him the minute I laid eyes on him. And so I picked him up and I took him back to Ralph. And I said, is this little boy sponsored? And, he did his usual thing. He got on the phone with Diana Baird and everything. And it turns out that this little boy was on Diana Morris's list. So I was like, okay, let's go. Like, I want this kid. And then Ralph looked at me and said, I think she got everyone that was on that list sponsored already. But he was going to call her and find out anyway. So after some time went by, I started playing with the kids and everything because I was helping with games. And I was holding on to him and everything. And I set him down to play the slap game because you need both hands for that. And after 5 minutes, he was gone. I didn't know where he went. And so I went and found Fifi after a little while, and she said, come on, we go find. And so we went and got the superintendent, and we went and found him. And he was back in class, and he was learning and everything. And I was like, do I just go in there and watch? Do I just stand at the doorway? Do I just go back? What do I do? And the superintendent pulled him out, and he sings. He's 4 years old, and he sings. And it's the cutest little thing. He was singing about someone cleaning his shoes, but I didn't understand it, obviously. All I knew was that he was singing. And so I took him back, and I held him all day and everything. And then when I got back into the church, I walked up to where all of our backpacks were, and everybody was standing around. And I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been Travis. And he looked at me and said, that's Dana's little boy. And it broke my heart because I wanted this little boy. But he was the cutest little thing. And whenever you say sui, which is the word for smile, he just lights up. And like Cameron said, he is a rockin' man bun. And I had taken a picture with him on Rachel's Polaroid, and I gave it to him. And after Cameron had given him his box, he was playing with his cars, and I didn't know where the picture went. And I kind of moved a thing of bubbles in his box to give to him, and I saw the picture. It was right there. And I was like, okay, so this kid doesn't know who I am. I'm not going to get to sponsor him, but he still cares enough to hold on to that picture. And he was so cute, and I wanted to keep him forever. Like Travis said, I wanted to put him in my backpack and bring him home. But I mean, I know he's going to be taken care of. He's with an awesome family and everything, so.
Dana probably would have bailed you out of jail, too. Yeah. So you had a roller coaster kind of emotions. You found out that God had a different plan. Yeah. And that was difficult for you to swallow.
I sat there for probably a good 10 to 15 minutes, bawling my eyes out, just holding him on my lap. I was sitting there on a bench. He was on my lap, and I was just crying. And all of these older Haitian girls who were probably in high school were looking at me like I was crazy because I was holding him. I wasn't even looking at him, and I was bawling.
Yeah. So, that later that night we were talking about it, and, we don't always get what we want. Things don't always work like we want. And that is, it's a small example. In Haiti, a lot of times they don't get what they want. and things don't work like what they would hope for. But, you know, the neat part about that story was that she knows that that child and that child's family is taken care of. And that's not always the case. You know, not every kid down there has that assurance to know that they're going to be taken care of, and there's someone else that cares for them. And so it was an interesting day for Lissa. You know, as she kind of worked through those emotions and the excitement and the disappointment, and then ultimately the realization that everything's going to be okay, and that he's going to be taken care of. And I'm sure they'll let you buy Christmas presents for him too. So we'll figure out a way to work that out. All right, Mama Sam, let's wrap this thing up. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. All right, Sam. So Sam kind of got thrown into this trip. We needed another girl chaperone, and so Audra's like, I got somebody in mind. And so we called Sam, and she said, yeah, let's do this. I'm not sure she knew what she was signing up for, but she had an interesting week. So Sam, what did God show you this week?
There was so much to begin with. I mean, I got there and I was going to plug in my phone and I didn't have my charger. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do all week long with no charger? So of course, you know, people have chargers, so I borrowed theirs. But I didn't really know why I forgot my charger. So we go to all the schools, we do everything. And these kids, you know, they have to like make their own toys if they don't have any. You know, for instance, a kid had 3 sticks tied together with a jug he had cut open and a bicycle tire, and he was pushing that with this toy that he had made. My kids would have never have thought about that, ever. I would have never have thought to tell them to make something like that, ever. The fact that these people don't have TV, they don't have iPods, they don't have iPads, they don't have phones. And you know, whenever God's telling you something and you're kind of like, yeah, I hear you, but leave me alone. I don't want to do that. What I realized most this whole week is I need to spend more time with my children and my family. I work a lot. And I'm not home a lot. I'm such a girl. And whenever I am home, I'm on my phone all the time, working my side business. My kids will say my name 4 or 5 times before I hear them. And I just realized that my kids are only going to be with me for so long, and then they're not going to be there. And I think that we take that for granted. These kids who were with us, I didn't know very many of them. I want my kids to be like them. And they're like that because of you guys and how you're raising them. So kudos to you for that. But I've just decided every day I get home, and I'm praying on some other things too, about my side business, what I need to do, and how I can make all of that work. But I need to make my kids not play so much on their own electronics, and we need to do something. We need to be together. Your family's, you know, the number 2 thing is your father's number 1. And
How often are we stuck in our phones, or how often are we stuck on social media? A lot, and it's not fair. They just want 10 minutes of your time, and I need to give them that. And I know the reason now why I forgot my charger. He didn't want me on it. So I was on it just enough. We didn't have very good service. We had good service for the first couple of days as I was posting photos for you guys. But then our service kind of, went away a little bit. It didn't work very well. And I think that was a big eye-opener too, because, none of them were really ever on it except for to post stuff, and then they really did get off. But it's just taking into consideration, how often do you take time to spend with your family, whether it's who's in your household or who isn't. So that's really what I learned this week.
Yeah, it was neat to watch, to watch all of them. Believe it or not, Sam still did makeup all week. She was on the team that was painting the nails. So we kind of gave her a hard time about that, and you go all the way to Haiti and you're still doing makeup, and but it was fun. I think that was a little different makeup experience than what she was used to, but it was very neat to be able to sit back and watch all these kids and to hear the stories, and we've already kept you pretty late, and so I'm kind of going to wrap it up. But I guarantee you, if you want to take one of these kids out to dinner or to lunch or something like that, they'll sit and tell you all their stories about Haiti. Plus, that'll save you some money, or save them some money, so they can send to their child sponsor too. So they'll take a free lunch. But we had a great time. I think that all of them were ready to go back tomorrow if they could. And I kind of, we're not leaving right now, but I want to leave you with this. I kind of used my phone throughout the week to kind of make some notes and things that would jump out at me. And every trip that I've ever been down on, when we would come back, the number one thing always was about the people and how important just meeting those Haitian people was to them, and how big of an impact that had on everybody's life. In fact, one of the themes for one of our video series, that unintentionally, when Brandon was shooting it, everybody kept saying the same thing: I just want to see the people. And that kept coming up. So I kind of asked myself this question one night when I was kind of off by myself. I said, how is it possible to spend 1 week with a group of people and have such a deep connection with them? And the only thing that I could come up with was, when we love sacrificially, like God asks us to love, it's pure and it's life-giving, or it's renewing. I think for some of these kids and us adults that have been, when we get to go somewhere like this and we get to do something like this, it's our first time of truly experiencing sacrificial love in person. And I look through and you see the passages in the Bible where God talks about sacrificial love and how, God gave his son to us. And I think that when we get these opportunities to go down to Haiti and we get to see this, and we see where the kids are sharing their lunches, and we get to see where, Jenna didn't tell the story, but this kid got this box of Christmas box, and it had a sucker in it. And this little boy took this sucker out, and candy is a big deal down there. And he tried to share it with Jenna. He wanted to give the sucker to Jenna. And she lost it. She was definitely being a girl at that moment. But she lost it because she's like, no. She's like, this is a gift. I can get suckers anytime I want. This is like a special treat for him, and he's giving it to me. And so I think for a lot of us that have been to Haiti, we just can't even hardly put into words what that sacrificial love means. And when we experience it, we have no choice but to be changed. So, I have one more challenge for you guys. Hold them accountable to what they've learned and to what they've said this morning. God has changed them, but it doesn't mean that Satan won't try to come right back in. and distract them and confuse them and, just help them, or Satan's wanting to help them fall right back into the same routine. So I want to challenge you guys to help them to remember the lessons that God has taught them. And I want to challenge you guys to hold each other accountable. You guys keep each other on track. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for allowing us these opportunities, for sticking with us late. I know we're really late, but we only go on this trip once every other year, and so we'll stay a little late on those days. But the rest of the time, it's his fault if we're late. So thank you guys, and let's pray. Father, I thank you for everything that you've done for us. Father, just the opportunity to share what you've taught us, to be people in community sharing stories with each other and lifting each other up through that. Father, I just thank you for this body of believers. I thank you for this family that you've put me in. And Father, I thank you for this team that was down there this time. And I pray that you would just hold them true. Father, encourage them, give them strength and wisdom to do the things and say the things that they need. Father, I want to pray for my brothers and sisters in Haiti this morning as they're down there and they're going through their Sunday, and their church is probably just now wrapping up. I just pray for the pastors, the churches, the schools, and everybody that's there right now. Father, just give them strength, courage, and wisdom. Lord, I just pray that you would just allow us to continue to be a part of what you're doing there. Thank you, and we love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you all.